friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Kaylin and my channel here is Full Purpose and Heart. And today's video, I wanted to share with you guys how I built out my very first literature unit. I am by no means like an expert, obviously, this is my first one, and I had no idea really how to go about doing it until I just kind of dove in head first. So I decided I wanted to film this video and share with you guys how I did it. So if you are considering or trying to figure out how to do something, then maybe some of my suggestions might be helpful for you. Once again, I'm not an expert and I perused tons of YouTube videos myself. So I suspect you are doing the same and hopefully my ideas will be helpful. So this unit that I built is Little House in the Big Woods. So let me show you guys how I did it and then I'll go through kind of what I planned. So if you want to do something similar to this, then maybe you can. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Little House in the Big Woods is the first book to the Little House series, and I have never read Little House anything before. In fact, I thought the first book was Little House on the Prairie. So you can imagine my surprise when I went to jump in and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't even the first book. So in case you don't know, the first book is Little House in the Big Woods. So I got all the Little House books. And then I also printed off this planner page. This is a page that I actually offer in my Teachers Pay Teachers shop. And I have used it for many years now just as an overall curriculum planner. But I decided to make this for a unit study so that everything that I needed was in the same place. And where it says Monday through Friday along the side here, I just put like where it says subject, this is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3. Now, whether or not we do week 1, day 1 on Monday, that's to be determined. We may extend it a little bit or do more activities which take more days, which will then of course throw off my Monday through Friday planning. But in essence, it's kind of just 5 days a week. And then I think that my whole thing turned out to be 6 weeks long. Yes. Well, 6 weeks in a day. So, what's that? 31 days or so just to read the entire book and do some of the fun activities that I planned. So, here's what I did when I decided to do it. So the first thing that I did is I just got a random piece of paper and my book and I read it for the first time. I had never read it before. I didn't know anything about it. So I just went through and read the book. And anytime I came across something within the chapter that I thought was interesting or could kind of create some kind of project or whatever, then I just jotted that down as a note, along with any words that could be counted as like a vocabulary word. So that took me a couple of days. It's a fairly quick read. It was, 280 pages, this particular one is. And so I read it really quick. I think I read half of it the first night actually. But anyway, so then I just, for each chapter, kind of wrote down a few ideas. I then also hopped over to YouTube and was kind of referencing a few other ladies who had books. There are 2 that I know of, Little House on the Prairie kind of curriculum guides that are available for purchase. And I didn't have either of those, but there are a few ladies that have done kind of a look in the book idea. So I was using those videos to kind of jog a few more ideas for myself. So that is where it started for me. From there, I then printed off this page. So I had this page and my like little note page that was in like a spiral notebook. I was just looking to see if I happen to have it close, but I don't think I know where it is. Anyway, and that's when I started filling in the days. So I would take my book and I was like, okay, we're going to start on page 1. Now remember, I had just finished reading it, so the flow of the book and when activities changed was very fresh. So I just started like flipping the pages. How many pages would I read aloud with my kids on the first day? If you're doing this with an older child, then you may decide how many pages do I want my child to read on the first day. And for me, I was trying to chunk the pages, not necessarily by chapter, but more by theme or activity. So the part where Pa goes out and has the bear experience, that's its own day. And then when Ma and Laura have their bear experience, that was their own day. So then we can compare the two and do an activity like that. So anyway, that's the next step that I did, was to go through and just like decide what chunk of pages I want to do. And then on my little thing here, the first day is a prep day. So then I would put read pages 1 through 4. And then these are the 2 activities that we're going to do that correlate with that reading activity. Let's backtrack one quick step. You'll notice that my first day, I am doing a preparation day. So we will not read any pages that day, or maybe it'll be 2 days. I don't know. But I will create a character poster. So we're going to introduce who the characters are, and we're going to do the map of Wisconsin. We're going to talk about what a fiction book is versus nonfiction, and a historical fiction book versus historical nonfiction. So the more that I'm kind of like learning about the Little House series, the more I'm understanding that it is based on Laura's life, that she was a real person and she kind of wrote this story about herself. And you can travel to some of these places where they have reconstructed some of the homes that the Ingalls had lived in. And so that's new to me. I didn't know that. I just thought it was something that somebody wrote. So I've learned a lot just in kind of creating this curriculum or this unit. And another quick side note is that I am gearing this learning toward my first grader, my 5-year-old. She's a little more advanced than your typical 5-year-old. And so, it'll be just kind of a fun unit to do with her, but I will also be doing some things with my son, who is going into 4th grade. And then my youngest is kind of along for the ride to eat the fun treats and, build a log cabin when we build one. So anyway, all right, so now back to this. So we've got here, we're going to read pages 1 through 4, and then I write down in those notes what the activity is going to be for that day. And I did that for the whole book. Then I would go to the next page. So now the next section, we're going to read pages 5 through 11, because that's where you're really talking about the habitat and the area that the Ingalls lived in. And we'll talk about the forest habitat. Then what's the next chunk of pages? And I did that all the way to the end of the chapter. And kind of intermixed with that, I filled out this little back. I just flipped it to the back side, and I wrote down materials that I would need for the week, so that when the week was over, I could just look at week 2 and decide, what things do I need to collect, so I can kind of have them all in one central location. So anyway, you'll see for week 1 here, I need posters, a map of Wisconsin, pretzels and frosting for our log cabin, some beef jerky, because we're going to eat beef jerky, and then a sensory bin with a couple of tools and such that my kids can play with. And then I also wrote down a few books here. I think I kind of got tired of writing these, because I thought essentially what I'll end up doing is just going to the library like the day before, because in years past, we have always had a weekly library trip. It was a little different during 2020 for obvious reasons. And so we haven't picked it back up yet, but I'm hoping that as the summer ends and then we go into fall, that the library will lift their mask restrictions and we'll be able to go to the library and enjoy it the way that we are familiar with. So anyway, I did start writing a few, but then I think I just was like, I'll just look them up or have them reserved for me as we get to them. So anyway, and then that was it. That was how I created the whole unit study. When I finished the Little House on the Big Woods, I was so excited about it, and it's going to be a super fun unit. I immediately jumped over and followed the same exact pattern for Little House on the Prairie. However, I'll be honest with you right now, I did not have as much excitement about that book. I felt like we were building the Little House on the Prairie for 10 chapters or something, page after page after page. And first we built the house, and then we built the windows, and then we built the roof, and then we dug the well, and then we built the fireplace. And I just was like, okay, well, anyway. So I don't know if we're going to keep doing these or not, but the first book, can I give a shout out to the first book? I really enjoyed reading it. It's going to be a super fun read aloud. And having never read the book before, I'm really excited to teach my daughter about it. So the best way, I think, for me to share the activities that we're going to do in the actual unit that I created is to share with you as I film my Homeschool Life series, which we start school in July. And I think we're going to start this in August. So, stay tuned, I guess would be the best way. I had considered trying to figure out how I can offer it in my Teachers Pay Teachers shop, but I haven't figured out how to create it in a way where it's easily duplicated for you and your family, because right now it's kind of all just in my head. So, I will somehow figure out how to create a way to share this better with you guys, but it may just be in those series videos, which a lot of you guys already watch anyway, so you'll see those coming down the pipeline. But I am super excited about it. It is our first unit study, and as we go into this next school year, 21-22, I am going to try to incorporate more unit studies in our learning, just because COVID did a lot of good things for our schoolroom. It made me a lot less public school type, I guess you could say. Anyway, that's just another video for another day. But Little House in the Big Woods, it's going to be a good unit study. Hopefully this was kind of helpful to give you a little groundwork on how you can create your own literature unit study. And then as I begin to do some subject unit studies, then I'll share how I go about doing those, although I suspect it'll be mostly the same way. So anyway, hopefully this was a helpful video for you. Give me a thumbs up if it was. Let me know that you watched it and that you found some value in it. And if you are new to my channel, then go ahead and subscribe as well, because I've got a lot of content that I love to share about homeschooling and just all those tips and tricks and ideas and stuff that we're doing over here. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in another one.